Kings of Chaos. Who was more dangerous, Rodolfo Cheyenne Cadena or Barry the Baron Mills? Two men, two legends, two empires of blood forged behind bars and in shadows. On one side, Rodolfo Cheyenne Cadena, a Mexican-American revolutionary with the heart of a killer and the mind of a unifier. On the other, Barry the Baron Mills, cold, calculating, and willing to drown the prison system in blood to seize power. This is not just a story of prison gangs. It's a tale of warfare, ideology, and absolute control. Today we ask the question, who was more dangerous, Cadena or Mills? Rodolfo Cadena was born into the barrios of San Antonio, Texas, but grew up in East Los Angeles, where gang life wasn't a choice, but a survival mechanism. He joined the Barrio Nuevo Estrada gang as a teenager. By the age of 16, he was convicted of murder and sent to Duell Vocational Institution, known as DVI, the gladiator school of California's prison system. There, he met other young Mexican-American inmates hungry for respect, identity, and dominance. Together, they formed La M, the Mexican Mafia, in the late 1950s. Cadena wasn't just a soldier, he was a visionary. He wanted La M to be more than a gang. He wanted it to be a cultural and political force. But make no mistake, Cadena was no saint. His rise was drenched in blood, stabbings, assassinations, power grabs. And when diplomacy failed, the knife spoke. Barry Mills, meanwhile, grew up far from the barrios, in the predominantly white neighborhoods of California. In 1969, after a life of crime and assault, he was sentenced to prison for armed robbery. At San Quentin, he found his destiny with the Aryan Brotherhood, a violent white supremacist gang born in the racial chaos of the 1960s. Unlike Cadena, Mills didn't come to unite. He came to dominate, and dominate he did. Cold-blooded and militaristic, he turned the Brotherhood into a nationwide criminal empire. He wasn't just a gang leader, he was the general of a shadow army. Cadena believed in alliance. At the height of his power, he initiated secret peace talks with La M's most hated rival, the Nuestra Familia. He envisioned a unified front for all Mexican-American inmates, a pact to stop bloodshed and focus on control, not chaos. But this would be his undoing. Many in La M saw this as betrayal. Peace was weakness. They didn't want unity. They wanted supremacy. And so, Cadena was betrayed by his own brothers. December 17, 1972, California Institution for Men, Chino. Cadena is stabbed over 50 times by Nuestra Familia members, his body thrown off a tier. He died not just a martyr, but a symbol of what could have been. A different path, never taken. Barry Mills took the opposite approach. He wasn't interested in peace. He believed in fear. Under his rule, the Aryan Brotherhood executed inmates with surgical efficiency. Black inmates, Hispanic rivals, even white inmates who disrespected the code. In the 1990s, from the isolation of supermax prisons, Mills and his lieutenant, Tyler Bingham, orchestrated a nationwide reign of terror. Their weapon? The written word. Orders hidden in legal letters. Messages encrypted in codes. The Brotherhood had no central office, no street headquarters. Its war room was a 6 by 9 foot concrete box. Mills made murder bureaucratic. If someone needed to die, a note would go out, a knife would go in, and the world moved on. Rodolfo Cadena's body count is difficult to quantify. In the chaos of the 1960s and 70s California prisons, murders went unrecorded, lost in riots and silent vendettas. But Cadena was feared and respected. Under his leadership, La M took over gambling, drug trade, extortion, even influenced street gangs in East LA. He opened doors for La M to become what it is today, a violent, feared syndicate with tentacles in every California prison. But Cadena died young, only 29. Some say if he had lived, Laem might have become a political force, like the Black Panther Party did for black inmates. Instead, his death sparked an all-out war with Nuestra Familia that still rages today. Barry Mills had no interest in politics or unity. His legacy is etched in federal indictments and morgue reports. Under his command, the Aryan Brotherhood was tied to over 40 murders. Victims were not just enemies, they were sometimes allies, killed for minor offenses or disobedience. In 1997, Mills reportedly planned to initiate a full-blown race war in the federal prison system. That plot was foiled, but the message was clear: power through division, terror, and genocide. In 2002, the U.S. government launched one of the largest RICO cases in history against the Aryan Brotherhood. Mills was named as the top shot caller. He would spend the rest of his life in ADX Florence, the Alcatraz of the Rockies, a tomb for the most dangerous. Cadena was intelligent, charismatic, and philosophical. He read political theory in his cell, believed in Mexican pride. He once said the Mexican Mafia was not a gang, but a movement. But his ambition clashed with the violent nature of the machine he helped build. He couldn't stop the monster he created. In trying to humanize Laem, he humanized himself. And in the prison jungle, humanity is fatal. Mills, on the other hand, was almost sociopathic in his detachment. He never showed remorse, rarely even raised his voice. He spoke in calm, measured tones, even when describing murder. A leader not of loyalty, but of fear. Cadena's name is still spoken with reverence in the world of Laem. He's seen as a martyr, a Che Guevara of the prison yard. His death set off a chain reaction, solidifying Laem's control over Latino gangs in California and turning street cliques into a prison-backed army. Today, Laem rules with an iron grip. Cadena's fingerprints are everywhere, in graffiti, in coded letters, in the language of the streets. Mills, too, shaped the criminal landscape. Under his rule, the Aryan Brotherhood expanded into a national power. While smaller than Laem, its influence was outsized, especially in the federal system. The Brotherhood forged deadly alliances with cartels, outlaw biker gangs, and other prison-based syndicates. Even today, from solitary confinement, their leaders influence drug routes, orchestrate homicides, and collect tribute from white inmates coast to coast. So we come to the ultimate question: who was more dangerous, Cheyenne or the Baron? Cadena was a revolutionary, a thinker with a blade. His danger came from his ability to organize and inspire. But he was also a tragic figure, assassinated by the very system he tried to change. Mills was a butcher and a general, a cold, bureaucratic killer who turned the Aryan Brotherhood into a streamlined, efficient slaughter machine. While Cadena dreamed of unity, Mills mastered control through chaos. Cheyenne was dangerous because of his ideals. The Baron was dangerous because he had none. In the end, Barry Mills left a longer, bloodier trail. His leadership caused more deaths, more federal cases, and more systemic corruption. His fingerprints are on homicides in multiple states, federal riots, and international drug deals. Cadena's danger was potential, what he might have done if he lived. Mills' danger was realized, what he actually did, and how many he buried along the way. Both men left behind empires, but only one turned his cell into a throne of skulls. In the Battle of Cheyenne versus the Baron, the crown of chaos goes to Barry Mills, not because he dreamed big, but because he made nightmares come true. Next is the Masters of Murder. Who was more dangerous, Tyler the Hulk Bingham or Joe Pegleg? Morgan. They ruled from the darkest corners of America's prison system. One, a white supremacist warrior with a monstrous temper and a body built like a gladiator. The other, a cold-blooded strategist missing part of his leg, but never lacking in control. Tyler, the Hulk Bingham of the Aryan Brotherhood versus Joe Pegleg Morgan of the Mexican Mafia. Two shot callers from two of the deadliest prison gangs in U.S. history. Both were lethal. Both were legends. But only one can be called the most dangerous. Tyler Davis Bingham was born in 1947. Before the Aryan Brotherhood, he was just another convict in the system. But it didn't take long for others to see what he really was. A brawler, an assassin, and a leader. Towering in size, built like a machine, and feared for his uncontrollable rage, Bingham was a natural enforcer. When the Aryan Brotherhood needed muscle, they looked to the Hulk. But underneath the brutality was a cold strategist. Bingham wasn't just a hitter, he was a planner. And once he partnered with Barry the Baron Mills, the AB would rise into a national criminal enterprise. Joe Morgan, on the other hand, was born in 1929 to Croatian immigrants in San Pedro, California. Not Mexican by blood, but more Mexican than most by loyalty. As a teenager, he ran with Mexican-American street gangs and eventually landed behind bars. It was in the California prison system that he forged his legacy. Sharp-minded, multilingual, and ruthlessly efficient, Morgan joined La M in the 1960s and quickly rose to power. He wasn't just accepted, he was revered. In a gang built on bloodline and identity, Morgan, a white man with a prosthetic leg, became its most powerful figure. He didn't need muscle to dominate. He had the mind of a general and the cold heart of a killer. Bingham's nickname, the Hulk, was no exaggeration. He was notorious for brutal assaults, some so savage they sparked lockdowns across entire federal facilities. But beyond the muscle, Bingham helped transform the Aryan Brotherhood into a transcontinental power. Along with Barry Mills, he centralized AB leadership, developed coded systems of communication, and enforced a chain of command across federal and state lines. He ran a blood-soaked empire from a solitary cell, giving orders through encrypted notes and trusted lieutenants. One word from Bingham could spark a murder in any prison yard in America. Joe Pegleg Morgan had a different style. He was cool, composed, and deadly. After a gunshot wound in his youth cost him part of his leg, Morgan didn't slow down. He got smarter. He used his intelligence and charm to form alliances between La M and other criminal organizations, including the Italian Mafia, the Aryan Brotherhood, and Mexican cartels. Morgan introduced organization into La M's street operations. He bridged the prison street divide, turning small-time cholos into soldiers, demanding taxes from Southern California gangs. Refusal meant death. He didn't need to raise his voice. Like a Mafia don, his power came from control and fear, and no one crossed Pegleg twice. Tyler Bingham's leadership was bathed in blood. In the late 1990s, Bingham and Mills orchestrated a nationwide campaign of murder and terror in the federal prison system. In 1997, the Aryan Brotherhood launched coordinated attacks across multiple facilities, targeting Black and Hispanic inmates and rival gang members. Bingham was tied to over 20 murders, most of them sanctioned hits. He helped the Brotherhood enforce an internal code of discipline where even minor slights could lead to execution. His tactics were surgical: silent orders, concealed weapons, and lightning-fast violence. By 2002, federal prosecutors indicted Bingham and Mills under RICO, linking them to 32 homicides and countless conspiracies. Morgan's body count is harder to trace, not because it's lower, but because it was hidden in shadows. He was more boardroom than battlefield, issuing orders that others carried out. Under his guidance, La M ruled with an iron hand. Drug operations, extortion rackets, and murder-for-hire schemes flourished. From behind bars, Morgan taxed entire neighborhoods in East LA, controlling dealers, gang members, and local politics. He orchestrated hits on defectors, traitors, and rivals within La M and beyond. One moment of disobedience could result in a body dumped in the streets, or in the prison shower with a shank in the back. He didn't need to get his hands dirty. He had an army for that. Bingham ruled with fists, fire, and fury. He believed in violent order and supremacist ideology. The Aryan Brotherhood, under his co-leadership, became a white terror network, brutal and efficient. His strength lay in fear and loyalty, a brotherhood bound by blood oaths and racial hate. Even from solitary confinement in ADX Florence, Bingham coordinated drug trafficking, murder plots, and power plays. Solitary couldn't silence him. It just made him more lethal. Morgan was a chess player in a yard full of checkers. He understood the politics of race, but was never confined by it. He formed alliances with white gangs like the AB, and even negotiated truces with the black guerrilla family when it suited La M's interests. He turned the Mexican Mafia into a criminal government, rules, taxes, structure. It was no longer just a gang, it was a machine. His power was psychological. You didn't need to see Morgan to feel his influence. It hung in the air like a ghost. A whisper from Pegleg was worth 100 screams from lesser men. Tyler Bingham's reign began to unravel in the early 2000s. In 2006, after a massive federal RICO trial, Bingham was convicted of conspiracy to commit murder in aid of racketeering, and ordered to serve life without parole. Locked down in ADX Florence, the most secure prison in America, Bingham became part of a forgotten pantheon of gangland overlords. But even in isolation, the Brotherhood still honors his name. His directives are legend. His reputation remains feared. He is now nearly 80 years old and still dangerous. Joe Morgan died in 1993 at age 64 from liver cancer. But his death did not end his legend. It immortalized it. He left behind a Mexican mafia that continues to dominate Southern California's street gang culture and prison politics. Every Sureno gang, every drug dealer who pays tax in Los Angeles, every coded message from a Pelican Bay cell still echoes with the rules Morgan helped write. His genius was that he made La M an institution that would outlive him, a ghost empire. Bingham was a warrior, a brutal, uncompromising executioner. But he also understood structure and discipline. His rage was tempered with planning, his violence backed by policy. His charisma was limited, but his loyalty to his ideology was unwavering. He didn't just execute for control, he believed in racial supremacy. That belief made him capable of anything. Morgan was charming, intelligent, and eerily calm. He spoke softly, but every word carried weight. He was the kind of man who could convince enemies to make peace, or kill each other. His danger came from how he combined intellect with cold brutality. He was both kingmaker and executioner, often in the same conversation. He didn't need chaos, he created order. But it was order soaked in blood. Both men were apex predators of the prison system. But who was more dangerous? Tyler Bingham left a trail of bodies and a legacy of hate. He made the Aryan Brotherhood a terror network within prison walls, a racial mafia with a massacre list. But Joe Morgan's danger was more insidious. He reshaped the entire prison landscape. He blurred the line between inmate and boss, between gang and government. He didn't just create executioners, he created policies that turned neighborhoods into war zones. While Bingham thrived on chaos, Morgan mastered control. While Bingham built soldiers, Morgan built an empire. The Hulk was lethal, but Pegleg was immortal. Today, both names are whispered behind bars. One in reverence, one in fear, both in awe. In the world of organized prison crime, danger comes in many forms. One can crush you with his hands. The other can have you crushed without ever leaving his cell. But when it comes to the crown of pure influence, reach, and long-term terror, Joe Pegleg. Morgan stands just a little taller, even if he limped the whole way there. This has been Masters of Murder. Join us next time as we delve into the lives of the most feared men behind America's bars. Until then, watch your back. And remember, in prison, The most dangerous man might not be the loudest,